Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm the other Ray J. Thanks for stopping by. Today I want to talk about my definition of cheating. But before I get to my definition of cheating, let's talk about some of the definitions of cheating that are out there. For example, if you just did a Google search of cheating, you'll get pretty much one that just stands out, that pops up first basically, and it says act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain advantage, especially in gaming or examination. So this is a Google search definition that popped up, and it was not necessarily Wikipedia. So my thing is that there was another definition, obviously, that you can look up, and that's through Webster's dictionary. Now, this particular Webster dictionary that I'm talking about is one that I had since I graduated high school in 2002. It was published 2001, though, but it's basically based on a word that was founded in the year 1590. This particular word of cheating, it was founded in 1590, the year 1590. And it says to deprive of something valuable by the use of deceit or fraud. Keep in mind the word valuable or value per se. Once again, the Webster definition of cheating is to deprive of something valuable by the use of deceit or fraud. Now, we're going to get to my definition of cheating. Last but not least, my definition of cheating is the underestimation of one's value. So, before I spin off to break down all three of these definitions, first of all, I just want to take out the time to say that my definition of cheating I came up with was in 2016 when I conceived this idea of cheating being the underestimation of one's value. Around my way, a lot of people really gave me a lot of positive feedback about my definition of cheating. They were like, well, maybe you should post that on Facebook. And at the time when I was active on Facebook, yeah, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But really my mindset at that time was I wanted more people to know about it one day. But at the same time, I wanted more people to know about it when that day comes, based upon my full understanding of my own definition, if that makes sense to people. Now that I truly understand my own definition of cheating, I could present this video for everyone, and I hope everyone gets a kick out of it. So, going forward, I felt that back in 2016, when I thought of cheating as the underestimation of one's value, I felt that back in 2016 that cheating was so overrated. It really was so overrated. And so, you know, a lot of people don't define cheating as it properly should be these days. Times have changed. A lot of ideas behind cheating have changed, per se. So, just to try to speed things up slightly and basically not have such a long video, the Google definition that I gave you that says the act of dishonestly or unfairly, to act that way unfairly or dishonestly in order to gain an advantage, especially in gaming and examination. If you break that down, basically that means that with that act of cheating, you basically are involved in a certain situation to where someone could have an advantage on you. And they said especially with gaming or an examination. So that means like when they have this being dishonest or unfair to have this advantage, especially during the gaming aspect, it reminds me of how people like to play games. Well, my thing is, if you don't give them the opportunity to get that close to you, you can avoid the games. Don't let them get that far with you in regards to them getting to know you and things like that. If you already feel that they're about playing games, don't give them no more of an opportunity so that they never have that chance to play those kind of games or to play games on you. Now, that's Google's definition of cheating that I just broke down. Now, let's break down Webster's definition of cheating. Like I said, this was founded in the year 1590, and it says to deprive of something valuable by the use of deceit or fraud. Once again, this to me is still in many ways you being in the act of a relationship or a situation with someone. You're involved with them, but to deprive, if you look at the word to deprive, when you say in this sentence, to deprive of something valuable, deprive, if you look it up, it means to remove. So that means that it was there, but then it got removed. So that means things probably were going good and things were great, but then it got removed. Now, to deprive of something valuable by the use of deceit or fraud, it means that maybe, you know, depending on where y'all at, if you want to just reflect it upon a so-called relationship, y'all had it good, but for some reason the person decided to withhold or to hold back, because that's also another definition of deprive, to withhold or hold back. Now, in the sense of the year 1590, like I said, this definition says to deprive of something valuable. So something instead of someone. So it's in my belief that back in those days, cheating wasn't as rampant as it is now. The cheating amongst individuals. From 1590 up until, I believe, the early 90s, I believe cheating just wasn't that widespread of a thing. That doesn't mean it never occurred. It just means that it wasn't that widespread of a thing like it is now. And like I said, it started in the 90s. One person can argue even around the 70s during the sexual revolution and the rise of the first wave of feminism. But I argue that it did not skyrocket. It skyrocketed in the 90s when you started to see a lot of things like Viagra, a lot of things like more rise of STDs, especially with HIV, the aspect of having more access to a telephone, cell phones was starting to be more popular, traveling was becoming more frequent, but that's here nor there. I'm just giving you an idea of how cheating did change from 1590 until now, and this definition of cheating being based on 1590, I believe it can be applied now in 2019 based on the date of this video. I believe that this old school version of cheating you can apply now, because people do deprive people of something valuable, especially within a relationship situation. They hold back when y'all were in the midst of getting to know each other, and they decide to hold back. Now, this builds up to my definition. So, but before I get there, one more thing I wanted to state was, you basically, in the midst of that situation, we're going a little further with you two getting to know each other. But yeah, they just decided to put a stop on it. Like I said, with Google's version of cheating, that definition, it more or less lets you see that this person, in the midst of y'all getting to know each other, they were trying to take advantage of you. With Webster's definition of cheating I gave you, it just gives you an idea of knowing that this person, within the midst of y'all getting to know each other, that they decided to hold back whatever that was supposed to be, to remove it. They held back when y'all were starting to take off, and they just did not want to take the relationship too far. Now, in its purest, I believe my definition is the purest definition of cheating, because it basically means instead of to deprive one of something valuable like Webster's definition, my definition being to the underestimation of one's value, has nothing to do with depriving. Underestimation, if you look up that definition, it means to place a low value on. So in my opinion, that means you don't even make an attempt of a transaction or a relationship. So one more time, speaking on the Webster's definition of cheating, when it says to deprive of something valuable, minus something, because it doesn't have something valuable in that definition per se. When you read it, it doesn't have the word someone. It just has something. At that time, like I said, cheating wasn't as widespread as it is now. So when they say something valuable, a lot of it could mean just a transaction. Now, just actual economical transaction, commerce, money. But it could branch off to something valuable like a relationship per se. But like I said, during those times, when the Webster's definition of cheating was formed, cheating wasn't as widespread as it is now. Now, like I said, not to digress, my definition, the underestimation of one's value, that's my definition of cheating, the underestimation of one's value. I said that underestimation means to place a low value on. And I stated that, yes, it means that you don't even, when you place a low value on something, you don't even make an attempt at it, or you just don't treat it right. You treat it for what it's worth. You treat it like trash. And so what do you see? You see people that treat people like trash as well. They underestimate that person's value. So that tells me that cheating isn't necessarily something that you have to do by sleeping with someone else. Cheating is something that you do based on you not really treating that person the way that they're worth. You don't treat them the way that they're worth. You don't give them that value. You make them feel like they're worthless. You don't give them the time of the day. You think they're not worth your time. Now, I see if you feel this way after some wrongdoing. That's different. But if a person feels like you're not worth their time and there wasn't any wrongdoing that took place, that person definitely is cheating on you in my book. And they didn't have to sleep with no one else. They didn't have to be talking to no one else. They just did not give you that time of the day. They feel like you're not worth that time. You're not worth it to them. They place a low value on you. They underestimate you. They treat you like crap. They treat you like trash. And one can treat you this way by either being too clingy or too inconsiderate. Now, a person that's too clingy is someone that feels like, well, you better be lucky you just got my attention. And if you don't give me that attention that I want, I don't want to talk to you no more. Or you have another person who's just inconsiderate. They really weren't trying to talk to you in the first place. So you're lucky if you get their attention. A lot of times they'll reach out to you when they're bored. So watch out for those type of people. Or they reach out to you when it's like a last minute situation and they had no one else to run to for that moment, because you're not really worth their time like that. So last but not least, when old ladies stayed with a man that they felt was running around, he was a Casanova. Like I said, rewinding back in the day, for a lot of times back in those days, like I said, from the 1590s up until the early 90s per se, 1990s. A lot of the older ladies stayed with their husbands because even though he was running around with other women, he still valued the woman at home. He still valued her time. She still was worth his time. He took care of her. He took care of her. She was worth more of his time than all these other women. That's why he did not settle with these other women. That's why, even if you think about it to this day, when a mistress wants to get around with a man and there's this so-called affair, what is the famous statement that man makes? I'm never going to leave my wife. Because he still has value on his wife. And the wife stays. Most of these wives stay. You notice that, right? Because she doesn't feel like she was necessarily cheated on. Yeah, he ran off with another woman behind her back, things like that. But overall, she still feels taken care of. She still feels like she is worth his time, and he makes sure of that. So, and I'm not siding with anybody. I'm not condoning a man going around sleeping with another woman behind his woman's back. And that's a whole subject altogether. I'm not condoning that. I'm just using an example right now of a woman who still feels like that man sees value in her time because he basically is not throwing her under the bus. He's not forsaking her. He's not forgotten about her. And she generally still feels happy around him. He hasn't brought hurt upon her like some disease or just, like I said, neglect or a child out of wedlock that she wasn't aware of, you know. So a lot of that happened back in those days. And that's why a lot of those women from the old times, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, that's why I stuck it out with my husband. Regardless of what he was doing, I knew he still loved me in his own way. So with that said, once again, if everybody applied my definition of cheating, the underestimation of one's value, there would be less drama going on right now when you're getting to know somebody.